This is Chris Hansen.
Chad doing Rip City Radio here.
It's your favorite basketball player, Tyler Hansbrough.
This is Jamie Hudson.
This is TJ Hoochmanzada.
And I'm going to let y'all know something.
Duke sucks and Duke will always suck.
You're listening to
It Just Makes Sense.
It Just Makes Sense.
Football is back, and so are we, boys. Listen, this podcast is not about being right. It's about being entertaining, and sometimes right. And then she dies, and I put the pussy on the pedestal until I found the right
grandmother's
time.
pussy.
Don't.
When you question the elite quarterbacks getting paid, this just proves the point that, like, you pay those guys because if you don't have one of those guys, this is the situation
This
you're
is
in.
your reality.
You are passing the same quarterbacks back and forth, to Daniel Jones, to Sam Darnold. So you lock the ones in that are considered elite. We're back. Clear eyes.
Full heart!
Can't lose.
Play like a champion! What's up, my brothers? What's up, brothers?
Am I supposed to respond to that?
I don't know. I guess we're not brothers.
We're brothers.
Brothers.
Yeah. I think you should get used to crickets when you say brothers.
Yeah. I don't think that's like a something I'm going to try on very often.
No, please don't.
So.
I can see you dropping the slang, "Hey brothers," and then just going, "I'm sorry." Just immediately apologizing.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
I put a little stump of a joint into my pocket earlier,
Yeah.
You gonna light it?
so it can be like season, whatever season was before this.
One.
Last season was season 4. We're on season 5.
What are you?
What are we celebrating?
getting at?
No, I'm just saying that I'm gonna smoke this little joint.
But what's that? Like, are you saying the last time you smoked a joint was last season?
I think so.
Oh, got it.
Well, we're only 20-something episodes
20
in?
is episode 25 of the season.
So it's only been 25 weeks since you've smoked a J?
If your math checks out,
probably the first time in this household.
For the episode.
it is
Yeah,
For the
there you go.
podcast.
for the podcast.
Yeah.
For the pod, yeah.
I mean, you drowned in weed in Cabo. Just kidding.
That wasn't at this house,
Well,
and I did.
You're just celebrating daylight savings time. Daylight savings time can kiss my ass, by the way.
You don't like the extra daylight? we're
No,
getting?
I mean, like, I love this. This
You
is
don't
great.
like saving daylight?
But has your guys' like schedules just been fucked the last few days? Or have I just like been on a daily days recovery from my kid's birthday weekend?
I have a 7-week-old baby.
Yeah, so
you think he understands what the fuck daylight savings is?
Also, I think
Yeah, it's been fucked, Pete.
if
Yeah,
if
yours is
daylight
different.
savings time is still fucking you, you've had 20-something. Like, I've had 25 years of training with daylight savings. How is it still fucking you after a couple
I don't know.
decades?
Maybe I'm just like multiple days into a hangover from my kid's birthday weekend. Maybe that could be it.
Let's
I
go with
remember-
that.
I remember the first time I smoked weed.
Do you?
I do actually.
I don't think he does.
I do. It was.
Take
remember?
a rip, Pete.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Let's also be clear.
Not gonna
I
do
don't
it.
think you smoked. You took an edible.
No, that's not true. It was at Eclipse camping.
Pete, what?
You
could-
remember? You and Lindsay stayed up till all nights of the hour talking.
That's an edible.
No, we smoked.
Well, you didn't smoke a joint. You smoked out of a pen.
What's the worst?
That was a joint. We were passing around a joint.
Pete,
okay.
take
Yeah.
one puff.
I'm not going to do that.
Why?
I just don't want to.
You don't have to drive anywhere.
I know. I'm good though.
Are you?
If anyone
Look,
folds,
you guys make me seem like a real straight edge kid. I just don't want to do it. Don't peer pressure me.
but you fold under peer
All right,
pressure.
loser.
No, when it comes to the marijuana.
You know what?
Yeah, it's dangerous
The
stuff.
crazy thing is, weed's legal, and also you don't have the balls to take a puff anyway.
Okay. The first time I ever smoked weed was eclipse camping, the full solar eclipse or whatever. And then it was because I had this grand plan to smoke with my grandmother, who was 80 plus years old. She was coming from my college graduation. She died a few weeks before my college graduation. So I was like, I've got to make it memorable now. And so then you know.
So you planned on smoking weed with your grandmother,
In my college graduation. It didn't happen.
and then she died.
And then she dies, and I put the pussy on the pedestal until I found
Your
the right
grandmother's
time.
pussy.
Don't. That really was bad of me to then segue into the pussy on the pedestal.
I was gonna say the whole story is like a high killer, but then the pussy was brought up,
grandma's
and we're
pussy.
back, baby.
And we're
Grandma's
back.
pussy came into play.
Yeah. So then then the night of the full solar eclipse or lunar whatever, we passed around a joint, and then I was in one of those like anti-gravity chairs, and I just went woo, and I just looked up at the stars, passed out. It was great.
Well, the joint's gone.
He wasn't even social. He just passed out.
It was the joint that big, and it just took me that long to get to the point, or was it not that big?
Both.
All right. Both can be true at the same time. Welcome to It Just Makes Sense. Presented by Braxton's old ass joint.
Yeah. That
Probably
was the
smoked half
nasty
last night.
ones.
It is so weird.
Have you been smoking more lately?
I have.
It's been so interesting to see
been
like
nice.
marijuana billboards and knowing that like people have gotten in trouble for marijuana offenses, and now you can just like drive around and there's just like an advertisement for marijuana. I'm like, this is so
You know,
ironic.
I was thinking about this, or at least something parallel to this recently. I was holding my beautiful baby boy, and I was thinking about, you know, when he gets older, you have conversations with your kids about alcohol, drugs, whatever. We've talked about this. And at some point, there's going to be a conversation that I have with my son saying, hey, yeah, I've, you know, whether this is teenage, adult, 20s, whatever, whenever this happens. But it's like, yeah, I went to jail for marijuana. I'm a felon because of marijuana. Like, that's going to be, like, he's not going to believe it.
right.
Because by that
I'm gonna
time,
laugh.
it's going to be like, that's crazy.
Yeah, there's
it's
no
like
way.
It's like having a great-great-grandfather that was like, yeah, I lived during Prohibition. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, you fucking square. I
that's
drink
good.
all the time.
Yeah. You're talking about like the kind of conversations that you're having with your kid. I've had now 2 very interesting conversations with my kid as of late. The first one was my son narked on himself and said that he and his friend Reggie went to the bathroom together, and they were
Classic Reggie.
They peed into the same toilet, and they were sword fighting, like crossing streams or whatever. So that was an interesting, like, hey, who hasn't done that?
Definitely didn't say sword fighting.
He
didn't know
didn't.
what that
I
meant.
am projecting sword fighting, but he.
I
just-
will say, when you guys were telling me this story, I was like waiting for the bad part.
Right, yeah. It's just kind of like when
okay,
you're
then
6
what
years
happened?
old. When you're 6 years old, you gotta like, all right, like maybe keep your
Like, who
stream
gives
to
a shit?
yourself. And then the next one was when he walked up to you today and just smacked you right
Yeah.
on the ass. He's like, I'm 6 now. What are you
You
gonna
called
do
him
about
out
it?
for that?
I didn't
did,
say a
yeah.
thing.
I did. It's like, that's Braxton's private area. And Braxton was like, it's fine if you just say good huss.
I said, as long as you say nice huss,
Nice
it's
huss.
okay.
So this is a
I mean, like, we're
legit-
trying to teach our 6-year-old, like, that's your private
And then
area.
Lindsay was like, maybe touching people's butts is always not okay.
This is a legitimate question because I'm not a father. When you have these conversations, you mold how they view and think about certain things. So when you address like a smack on the ass that we do in the locker room after
Yeah.
a basketball game, during a basketball game, football games and all that, aren't you making that thing be like the way that, let's say that the way you addressed it today, it's like, I don't know about that. Doesn't that put a negative connotation into that action?
Well, I think Peter did a good job of saying, hey, you don't do that to Braxton unless he says it's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it was. We were
Maybe
talking,
that wasn't your exact words.
we
but
were
like,
talking about situational things, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so to your point, we say like, hey, let's just like under the circumstances here, like we're not just gonna go
Yeah.
around and smack
grand
people on the-
scheme.
Right.
Don't do it.
Yeah, it wasn't like we didn't. It wasn't a big deal.
No, I'm asking. I'm not judging.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
think
Because
that
I'm,
like
I'm,
at
view-
that.
I'm viewing it as like, okay, let's say that as a 6-year-old I was told this, and then like I'm sitting in the locker room, then everyone's doing it. I'm like, dude, what are you guys doing? Like, that's possible,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
That's possible. That could happen.
I think that like for a 6-year-old, the baseline is keep your hands to yourself and don't touch other people's private parts. Yeah, I think that, and then once we get into like the sports thing, and then you can kind of like create the exception. I think that like right now at 6 to allow caveats into the conversation is
soon.
a little bit too advanced. And so in
Agreed.
that moment, it was just you keep your hands to yourself. These like I mean, and especially like that's Braxton's
And
private
Peter's
area.
teaching me as a parent
Yeah.
because if that was my child, I'd be like,
Nice us.
"Attaboy."
But you know
That's
what?
another thing you can say that would
Attaboy.
ease up the ass slapping.
But we have never used the wipe to white until you said that.
Really?
recently. Yeah. So we have taken wipe
Hell
to
yeah.
white. Because we've been trying to explain, like, Brody, you got to, like, wipe your ass until it's all gone. And then you just go, yeah, wipe to white. And I'm like, that's genius. And
Yeah.
so we've been saying it.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually starting to stick.
Until
So-
he's like, "Daddy, it's red."
well,
And he goes, I wipe, and it's like wiping a marker. What is happening?
well, that's actually the morning after
Okay.
he clogged the toilet like
Okay.
Lindsay does all the time.
With the baby wipes?
Because he just like took just so much and then like did a little bit and then took so much and then did a little bit, clogged that motherfucker the morning after you said wipe
I'm
to wipe.
still
So-
not past. I'm still
Yeah.
not past the thing. I'm thinking about like, okay, if I was a 6-year-old and my parents were like, "Don't touch other people's private parts," I would like to think I'm coachable enough that when I'm 22 and I'm with a girl and she's just butt naked and she's like, "Go at it," I'm like, my parents told me not to.
Well, you're also considering a reality where you continue to listen to your parents' like ruling and recommendations when you're 20.
Yeah.
Who says I don't?
You don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Great.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember if I pressed
I'm a
record. so hold on.
great kid, he says.
Yeah, that's recording. All right, cool. We're good. We're all getting a little bit older, including my son Brody, who turned 6 years old this past weekend. And I appreciate you guys coming. Big Taco Fest. 30 people at this house. That was quite the adventure.
It's a big enough house.
Yeah,
You don't know
we made it
How
work.
do you feel?
Like I said, I don't know if like what I am feeling is like hungover because like I drank everything that day too. I mean, we started cooking and preparing the night before, and then by the time I was like done serving food, I'm like, I've done my thing. I'm gonna turn loose, and I was just drinking for the rest of the night. Like, and go away, pain. But no, it was cool.
Yeah, I drank
You
a
did-
lot. I was the last one here.
He was,
Really?
yeah. I drove him
He
home.
took me home. I was going to
after I
call an
say I
Uber.
drank so much. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It wasn't that bad.
I mean, I was home by 10.
No, we had 4 different types of meats. We had that crappy
More? You had
Tostitos queso.
6 different
Maybe
types.
6 different types of meats. No chicken, bro. He's like, is there chicken? I'm like, come on, man.
There wasn't chicken.
No chicken. Yeah, so my bad.
I think the most impressive plates were Jordan's.
He had
mean,
some
Jordan's
good plays, yeah.
Put it away.
But he hit a wall.
Well, to be fair, a few days before he had norovirus.
Yeah, it's true.
So he's been shitting his
Pissing
fucking
out of his
brains out
butt,
for
yeah.
days.
Which should make him hungrier.
Yeah, so that he showed up here fucking starving, and you saw those plates. Like he ate
a lot.
12 or 13 tacos, and then he hit a wall, and he's like, he was trying to drink. You can tell he was just done.
Yeah.
He was like, people were trying to talk to him, and he's like, yeah. And I think he introduced himself to Lindsay's brother-in-law, who he's never met for some reason. He's never met him, and he goes, I think he walked up to him like a
Oh,
stranger
yeah.
would walk up
Oh,
to another
yeah.
stranger. He was like, how do you know Peter and Lindsay? And naturally, like, her brother-in-law that looked like Rickon from Severance. He was like, "Oh, I'm Lindsay's brother-in-law married to her sister Brenna."
Brenna, yeah.
And what about you? And Jordan's like, "Oh, I'm Lindsay's boyfriend."
That's right.
It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Did you actually say that to my brother's husband, to Edison?
I want to lick your butthole in Mandarin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you.
Yeah, I called Thomas. Edison was down on the steps by the couch, and then I called Thomas, and I'm like, "Hey, teach me how to say something in Mandarin. I'm going to call Edison over." He's like, "What do you want to know?" And I'm like, "I don't know, something dirty." So I initially had asked, "How do you say, I would like to taste your stink star?" But apparently that was a little tough to translate.
There's not a 1-for-1 on that.
So he
All
just
right,
typed,
yeah.
"I want to lick your butthole." So I go, "Edison, come here."
Oh my.
And I got him up from his comfortable spot just to say, "I want to lick your butthole." 5 minutes later, they're saying goodbye.
To my brothers. Yeah, they left very quickly after that. So
I will say that there's a few things in my years of being friends with Miguel. There's a few tells that he has in certain environments that say, "Oh, Miguel is drunk." And if Edison is around, as soon as Miguel starts asking Thomas, how do I say
this?
inappropriate and
Chinese.
unforgivable things to your husband
Yeah.
in Chinese, that's a very good sign that Miguel is drunk.
This was a topic of conversation at work today, which was cracking me up because I thought it was fucking hilarious. When Braxton was still there and the office was full and we had like the other side and all
And
that.
people were happy.
People were happy. They're buying lunch and we were all in the break room. We have this guy, probably my favorite guy at work, Kenny. Kenny's
Yeah,
never in the office,
Kenny's
but Kenny
solid.
is like somebody I would be friends with outside of work. He lives in Vancouver. He works remote. He's our admin guy. He does all the back end shit. Kenny, technically right now with how small the team is, also serves technically as HR, but we really don't have an HR. Like, you can't get anyone written up. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
But when we're sitting there, this was like several months ago, maybe 4 months into starting this job, I said something like, we were having tacos, and I said something like, "Hey, would you shove this carne asada taco up your ass for like $5,000 cash today?" And Kenny, as cool as he is, immediately found out that I found out that he gets uncomfortable with these things, and he just goes, "Oh," like telling somebody who's just not comfortable in this, like hearing any of that shit, and he goes, "Oh, you are an HR's worst nightmare." And I go, "Kenny, this is probably the most kid-friendly shit that's come out of my mouth in the last week.
Yeah.
So if you think this is bad," and he's like, "Oh, I'm glad I work remote." So today we were talking about this, and everyone was laughing. By everyone, I mean the 3 other people in the office. I'm like, "Yeah, Kenny just gets really uncomfortable when I say shit." He's like, "You should ask him something." So I start a Slack channel with him and the rest of the guys at work, not the owner, obviously. And I go, "Hey, Kenny, you remember the admin we had when I started named Cora? Remember Cora?"
Yeah.
I go, "Would you, and I had to speak his language because he gambles a lot. I go, "Kenny, to hit a 4-leg parlay sitting at plus 6,500 with a $250 bet, aka winning $16,000. Would you sniff and lick Cora's stink star?" I've been I've been really.
You've been waiting.
I've been waiting to use stink star for 5 minutes, and he goes, "Jesus Christ, man, hard pass."
Hard pass.
And I'm like, "Kenny, for $16K?" And he goes, "Why is this being sent on Slack?"
Well, to his defense, the owner of that company is definitely like up at night reading the Slacks of everybody.
Can he read the channels he's not in?
1,000 million%.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to know who I am at this point.
Who do you think is more uncomfortable, this guy Kenny or Sour D? Who would not respond? Would Sour D respond differently?
Oh, Kenny. You got to remember, you guys met Devin, aka Sour D, in Mexico for the first time in your life. Devin's known me for 25 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, not in group settings, but like him and I have spent a lot of time together.
Sure.
So this is not anything new to him. He might get uncomfortable, but he won't be like he
it's
won't
not
be
a
shocked.
surprise.
It's not a surprise at all.
What is the most illegal thing you have ever made Devin do?
Oh, yeah, he doesn't listen. We saw Devin.
Right, statute of limitations is probably gone at this point.
We saw Devin
so-
on Sunday. We were at Fire in the
I
Mountain.
mean,
with
I
them.
did see Devin hold and sniff weed
Oh, yeah, wow.
for the first time in his life.
Did he know what he was doing?
He did. He
Okay,
looked at me
wow.
and said, "This is the first time I've ever seen weed in real life."
Mid-30s at this point, which, again, that's fine, teacher.
Devin will not.
Officiant of your wedding.
Yeah, Devin's one of my best friends. And Devin is like, he could easily be judged or looked at by you guys who've just met him one time or a couple times as a square. And he would happily accept that. He's like, I am a fucking square, dude. But this dude has played professional basketball in Germany and Tokyo. He's been taking the clubs internationally. Those clubs are different beasts than like what we have in the U.S. He's been around stuff. He doesn't do them.
Yeah.
But he's been around it. He's been around people chain smoking cigarettes from midnight to fucking 7 in the morning. He's been around that. But he tends to stay away from doing anything that would implicate him or put him in danger or anything like that. He hasn't done anything illegal. There was one Halloween party I convinced him to go to. And it was pulling teeth to get him to go to this.
How old
I
were
was
you?
Fucking mid-20s.
Mid-20s, okay.
I needed him to drive.
That makes sense.
Before Uber, probably.
I was like,
so,
Dev,
yeah.
you got to drive. He goes, okay. Well, I can't take the... He had a Bronco. He had a sick fucking Bronco.
Oh, what year? Do you know?
Like 92,
Okay, yeah.
92, 93. All the back road country
Good
driving.
piece.
But he drove his parents' car that night. It was an
Oh,
Avalon, a Toyota Avalon. And he picked me up and he goes, where are we going? I'm like,
It's a very roomy bed.
we're going to this
And
Halloween
much safer
party.
than the Bronco, I'll
yeah,
tell you that.
airbags.
I was like, we're going to this Halloween party. So we show up to this house party. And this was a girl that I met through Morgan. So this
Who's also a dirty bastard.
Morgan is a dirty bastard, especially around those times. So we show up and half-naked girls everywhere. There's two girls in like mermaid costumes. There are titties everywhere. And Devin immediately was like, he started sweating. And he goes, okay. I'm like, what's our move? And I go, well, we got to start drinking. He's like, all right. Well, I might only have a couple.
Is he single then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like, I might only have a couple. I'm like, yeah. Devin doesn't nurse drinks the way I do. So I know once it hits his lips, I know we're gonna keep going. That night he drove drunk. That is the most illegal thing.
Can you bleep that?
He's done.
Can you bleep that?
I mean, that's so.
I mean,
that's so.
I'm
crazy.
talking. I'm
Dude,
talking
you're getting loose
He
with those
drove.
two
lips.
hands on the wheel, fucking
Intoxicated.
gripping it. I hope he does not
It
listen.
reminds me of like in Paul Blart Mall Cop where he's like chugging stuff because the nachos are too spicy.
Yeah.
And then he goes,
He gets fucked up.
yeah, because he thought it was lemonade. It's like, oh no, I don't drink.
margarita.
Yeah, the whole thing's margarita. Paul Blart Mall Cop, by the way, underrated.
What a classic.
A great movie.
great
I don't know if
fucking
other
movie.
people feel that way, but I feel like I was. Anyways, you're
There's
just
at
really
least,
fucking
there's at
with me,
least
and
you
that's
and
fine.
12 others.
Can
Okay,
this
thank you.
get Devin in trouble
How?
as a
In what
professional
way?
today?
No, he works. He's got his own business.
And I do want to make it clear.
The man just smoked marijuana on the podcast.
Well, that's different than driving drunk.
Okay.
I do want to make it clear. Coming out of that
Have
bachelor party.
have Natalie's husband arrest him. Like fake arrest, you know.
Coming out of that bachelor party, Miguel's bachelor party. Out of the people that I already knew, the person that I came away with the most respect for was definitely Sour D.
Love Sour
He
D.
stands by his principles.
So
You will not peer pressure him.
I want to make it clear, as much as we are making light and fun of the situation, the bachelor party in general, Sour D is
Love that guy.
number one man.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
So
Just all class.
yeah, and that was the thing. Like I was like the whole thing. I didn't think it like the things I was hearing about him. It's like, oh, you're a square. Because there were like some things that I definitely identified with, especially like on a younger age. It was just kind of like, it's almost like you're you're not is an anomaly the right word? It's kind of like one of those things where you've kind of like stopped in time. You're like an antique, and I just want to like.
There's not a lot of people like Devin today.
I was gonna say explore you, but you know,
there's not a lot of people like Devin that still exist today.
Yeah.
Well,
He
and
stands by his principles. He doesn't fold under peer pressure.
yeah.
This is like there's stuff he's willing to do, and there's stuff that he's not.
Yeah,
willing
without
to do.
some weird cultish.
Well, and I
shit,
think what
yeah.
you're trying to say, Pete, is we've both lived a life where there's a lot of times where people have told us, no, don't do this.
Right.
Don't do that.
We went
And
we took a
at
left.
a certain extent, we said, all right, we'll
we
do
gotta
it.
Do that. Yeah.
And our boy Sour D has stayed strong.
Yeah. So,
Anyways,
do you think that he's ever, smacked someone's ass without asking permission
I'm sure he has.
in a non-sport setting?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. See, there you know.
He's also his wife, unfortunately, will not be at the wedding.
Shut the
Oh,
fuck
that's
up.
right. Yeah, because they're kid.
Yeah, they have their youngest daughter has like medical issues, and she
no.
cannot be without at least one of them. So I was,
She has seizures, right?
yeah, she's like brain seizures. It's really sad. She's super sweet, but they can't have even family watching. Like one of them has to be there.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate Devin like still committing and being there, because if he couldn't, we would totally understand. But I was joking with him, like making light of the serious situation, because we've known this for years. But I'm like, so you're rolling solo on wedding weekend?
Sure is.
He's like,
yeah.
yes, I am.
I'm sure he said it in a lot more timid fashion. It was not like
And also,
no confidence
bad
there.
news.
Yeah.
There's like 2 single girls that's gonna be there.
There you go.
Everybody's coupled up.
To kind of put a bow on my son's birthday weekend. So we had the birthday party on Saturday. Sunday was actually his birthday, so we had Brody Day. We went, we got, donuts, we ate bacon, we went to Burger King, we went bowling at Kingpin's. You got to go to the arcade, the Dragon Gym, where he had his birthday last year. And you guys have, joked about me being bougie in the past. A lot of kids want to go to, Red Robin or similar Chuck E. Cheese for their birthday, right? Yep. My son wanted to go to Portland City Grill, which is a white linen, very dimly candlelit restaurant once it gets dark at the top of the tallest building in Portland. Because, one, he loves restaurants, and two, he loves that damn Pink Building. So when he found out there was a restaurant in the Pink Building, he's like, we got to go. And so we end up having, for his birthday, he wanted, they serve $156 ribeye there. It's crazy, right?
That's what he wanted.
No, he got the burger, but then the burger was too charred, which I was like, that's fair. It tastes good for an adult, but when you get too charred for a kid, it's too much flavor.
I don't get that. I want to make that clear.
Okay, that's fine. But you'll learn when
I'm sure I will.
Yeah, I'm gonna
When
pull
you grow
this.
up.
But as of right
When you
now,
grow
I
up,
don't
when he
do it.
has a
shit.
6-year-old kid, I'm gonna pull the. Oh yeah, you'll understand when you've been married with your wife or that. No, so we go there. He ends up just housing free bread the whole time. So,
I love that you.
Classic Brody.
I love that you talk about this and you put it on Brody like my kid's bougie. Your kid's a reflection of their parents.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, oh, Brody just wants to go to Portland City Grill. No, he fucking learned that from you because
I
you're
wonder
bougie.
where he got it from. So.
Oh, Brody just wants a Louis Vuitton clutch wallet. Yeah, I don't know where he got that from.
Well, there's a few guys who will be able to afford a Louis Vuitton clutch wallet or two in the NFL, boys.
More than a few.
The NFL free agency legal tampering is now in effect, which sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, but we have a lot of quarterbacks who are on the move, including Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Kenny Pickett. Then you've got up and down the list, Daniel Jones. Where do we want to begin? I guess
let's just start top to bottom.
Well, what do you consider the top? My
Exactly.
list? Yeah. Because, the most interesting thing started off with Geno Smith getting traded.
Yeah,
Geno Smith rejoins
Let's
Pete
follow
Carroll.
the chain of command or food chain here. What started the dominoes?
Geno.
Okay.
Geno traded to the Raiders, rejoining Pete Carroll, which seemed like I didn't know that like Geno Smith was like that desirable, but like they get
Well,
like a 3rd round pick for him or something like that.
And also, like, Geno Smith reunites with Pete Carroll, ? Like, didn't they have 1 year
I
together?
think they had 1 year together. Yeah.
I don't think there's this huge connection there.
No, I suppose not. Maybe he thinks that he's like, moldable, usable. But I mean, like when you think about like of the guys who were in this year's free agency, maybe like for instance, the Raiders didn't think that they had the opportunity to get like Sam Darnold or whatever. He then ends up signing with the Seahawks.
Sam Darnold and Geno Smith is just passing the same fish back and forth.
Right,
It's
so, like,
essentially the same quarterback.
That was the first thing that came to my mind, is because then Sam Darnold goes and signs a free agent contract, upwards of $100 million, $55 million guaranteed. They're like, why wouldn't you try and get in on the Sam Darnold sweepstakes if you miss out? Then you go and maybe trade for Geno. So then maybe John Schneider, there was that whole thing that I talked about before the combine. There was like, oh, what's happening? Pete Carroll's on the same flight as their good old John Schneider and their head coach, McDonald. So maybe that was the deal that was being brokered at that time. But yeah, kind of interesting to see Geno Smith. What the Seahawks in their fire sale with DK Metcalf getting traded to the Steelers, releasing Tyler Lockett. Then all of a sudden Sam Darnold's like, yeah, I'll come to your team. Like, who the fuck am I going to throw to? I mean, like, you've got Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you do have 5 picks in the top 100.
Gosh.
But, like, you've got no line to speak of.
Talk about fantasy football. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to get all the targets.
Well, unless they
all the
cover
targets.
him the whole time,
Unless,
so.
From Sam Darnold from a non-existent line, though.
That's kind of the fear.
How many times have you seen that, like, all season, where you have one guy and everyone questions, well, he's going to get blanketed by all the defenders because there's nobody else.
How was Adam Thielen last year?
Pretty good, actually.
Really?
Yeah, he was actually pretty good.
The times he wasn't good, he was hurt.
Yeah, he was.
Exactly.
I had him in fantasy. He was actually pretty good.
If you had him in fantasy, he sucked.
No, he was actually pretty good in fantasy. So,
All right.
Sorry, I know
You
that
dummy.
you were hoping that one would work. That one did not work.
My bad. I'm just.
But this
won.
further proves the point where
I also won, but
when you question the elite quarterbacks getting paid, this just proves the point that, like, you pay those guys because if you don't have one of those guys, this is the situation
This
you're
is
in.
your reality.
You are passing the same quarterbacks back
Yeah.
and forth, the Daniel Jones, the Sam Darnold. So you lock the ones in that are considered elite. If not, because it's clear this is the
spot.
most important position in the league. And if you don't have any one of those guys who's in the running for the MVP or anything like that, or taking you far in the playoffs, you're just doing what the Raiders and the Seahawks and everyone else is doing.
You're
right.
right.
So Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100.5 million to the Seahawks. Again, only part of that is guaranteed. Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million to the Jets. Daniel Jones, 1 year, $14 million to the Colts. He's going to be competing with Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson's dead. His injuries are just going to keep haunting
I mean,
him.
listen, if one or the other can't beat out the other, it is a colossal failure for that guy. Does that make sense?
I'll tell you what. I think is going, and this is insane to say that I even have an optimistic thing to say about this team. But Fields with the Jets. So I saw a stat today. I think Garrett Wilson came in the league in 2022. He's had seven different quarterbacks throw to him.
Right. I mean, 3, I think, in one season.
4 in 22.
Yeah, with
2 in 23.
we had the White Knight.
8. 3 in 23. 1 in 24. And this guy has put up pretty ridiculous fucking numbers for having Mike White and Simeon and Zach Wilson all throw to him.
Was Stidham on there yet, or was he on a different
I don't know.
Oh,
maybe.
he's in there.
But if Garrett Wilson, first of all, I think we're all in agreement that Justin Fields never got the fair shake with the Bears.
Right.
He should have got.
Didn't get the fair shake with the
With
Steelers
Pittsburgh.
either. Yeah.
If he's going to be the main guy that they rely on with the Jets, and he's going to be throwing to his college teammate at Ohio State,
Yeah.
that might, outside of everything else with New York Jets, that might be the one shining light with that fucking
Maybe.
team.
Yeah, and it sounds like we're on the same page because I do agree with you with that, but to also like disregard the Jets organization and everything that's come with just being the Jets, like it's what you just mentioned versus being a quarterback with the Jets, and I don't. Do you really think that's going to be able to match up?
I think
No,
I
not
think it's a
really.
low risk, potentially high reward, but I think that this is a stopgap move.
Yeah,
I think. you know?
I think it makes
Pay him a little
it
bit more
makes
to
the
get
Jets
there.
exciting.
Yeah, I
like
think
for the
so.
first 6 weeks of the season,
But
we're
I-
gonna be like, oh, what's going on?
I
They've
think
got
at-
a new coach.
I
and
think at
everything.
this point, from Justin Fields' point of view, the Jets are a fucking mess. But Justin Fields has never gotten the chance to just be Justin Fields. So if he gets the chance to be like, okay, it's me. I'm not fighting for the quarterback position. It's just me. Then maybe he could build his value in his stock and leave if it doesn't go well.
Unless
But at
they
least
draft
he's had
his
he had all the
replacement.
playing time.
Yeah.
And he's shown what he could do.
yeah,
Do you think they draft his replacement this year, or are they waiting till next year?
It's the Jets.
yeah.
they'll probably do it this year, and it's somebody who's subpar.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo 1 year, $4 million. Zach Wilson 1 year, $6 million. Josh Dobbs 2 years, $8 million. Jarrett Stidham 2 years, $12 million. That rounds out some of the quarterbacks there.
How does Stidham still have a job?
Well, sometimes
He's the only one I would question out of
he's
all
a
of us.
warm body sometimes, and
And
there's nothing
Kirk
wrong with
Cousins.
that. So
By the end of this week, will be signed by the Cleveland Browns.
no, because now they've got themselves Kenny Pickett.
No,
Bet it, then. Bet it.
I will.
Wait, what are you trying to say here?
By the end of this week, by Sunday at midnight, or Monday at midnight,
Sure, yeah, whatever that is, yeah.
the Browns will have signed the Kirk Cousins.
I
Hey,
have
Pete.
no idea how this is going.
What's the bet?
Well, you tell me.
You're going for Pickett, and he's going for.
I'm not going for Pickett. I'm just saying I
You're
don't
taking
believe
Browns
the
that.
have already signed Pickett.
Yeah, that's already either they
Yes.
traded. He was something happened. He's on that team.
Do you think that will happen?
No,
Okay.
I have
So-
I have no insight. I have not researched that at all.
50.
50.
It's gonna be that deep, huh?
Is it?
Don't puss out now. All right.
Sunday?
So
Sunday.
By
let's,
the
let's just
end-
say by,
by the
Monday.
end of
let's just say
Sunday.
by
Yeah.
Monday.
By Monday at noon.
By Monday.
No. Don't
Monday
do
at
that.
noon.
Yeah.
You heard it.
Monday at noon, $50. You're saying Kirk Cousins, no Browns. You're saying Kirk Cousins, Browns.
Yep.
All right, that's how it goes.
You know what? I can't wait.
Put it on the ledger.
I'll fucking do it. But
I'm sorry.
I'll fucking do it.
in August, I know we're going to be placing NFL future bets because we
Yeah.
always do. I cannot
And college.
wait. I am writing fucking Mr. Penis Jr. hard. That guy is going to explode next season.
Mr. Penis.
I'm
gonna-
ready
He's
to
going
match
to
those
explode
bets.
all over you.
He's gonna
He's going
just
to explode
rip
all
loads.
over you. That guy gets the opportunity to be the starter. He's going to fucking
He's
splooge
gonna rip
all
loads.
over your fucking face.
So okay, so how are the Browns going to acquire Kirk Cousins? Are they going to sign him to like
That's
a really?
not for me to
Okay.
figure
no,
out,
I'm just
Peter.
wondering because
Mr.
like,
Logistics here wants specific.
you think I own the team?
well, okay, so does Kirk Cousins come in and like sign some sort of minimum deal to be able to do it?
Kirk Cousins comes in and wins games.
Okay, I'm not concerned. What I am, where my segue is, where my transition on this is that. God damn.
Way to argue. Just
You fucking idiot.
fuck all the facts. He wins games.
Myles Garrett asked for a trade.
Sure. Where's
It-
he now?
He's back with the team as
That's
the,
what I thought.
as the highest paid non-quarterback in like the entire NFL. So now they
Browns win again.
So now they have a guy who is their quarterback who cannot get on the field because of his torn Achilles or whatever. He's got all this guaranteed money. Now we got Myles Garrett. You're basically, I saw it compared to like a
What quarterback are you talking about?
Deshaun Watson.
You think we're still dealing with him?
Yes, from a financial standpoint, you are.
No, he's long
Okay,
gone.
whatever. You're. This is not a good conversation.
Here's a legitimate
Fuck
question
outta
I
here.
have for you because
Yeah.
there's nobody out of us three that really focuses more on like salary cap and fucking logistics and money.
I mean, it's
with
a
each
very
franchise.
real thing.
I get it. I know that this is a point of conversation, but you bring this up and it's always like, well, this team is in cap hell. This team is so-and-so. But then every season we watch these teams just make moves.
Yeah, the cap
It's
means nothing.
I'm not saying they ignore it, but like we say, and I'm not saying you're making this up. It's real. But like, oh, the Milwaukee Bucks is in this position. The Lakers are in this position. The Browns are in this position. And then they make these moves and we're like, then why did it fucking matter?
Well, and also to your point, Miguel, the NFL has had a cap increase that's like
It's larger this year. This year has been bigger.
It's the Costco partnership.
exactly.
However,
they're going wholesale.
But what you've seen is that teams are having to make some decisions now after they have signed big contracts. And where I'm going with, in part, is like what the Eagles have had to do, especially on their defensive line. They've traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They've cut Darius Slay. They have to go with the youth movement. Why? Because they've paid two very key guys on their roster in Saquon Barkley and in Jalen Hurts. And so they've had to absolve themselves from a cap perspective of guys who are crucial members of their team. And so where I'm going with is like, how can you pay Kirk Cousins unless they buy him out, he still gets all that guaranteed money, and then he comes on like a very favorable Jimmy Garoppolo $4 million deal.
Here's what...
Can I just say real quick, to your exact point, Darius Slay, one of the people that they had to get rid of,
yeah,
correct? It's public knowledge that they've been in contact with him saying that, hey, now that there's a cap raise, we're going to try to bring you back.
Sure.
So,
and a lot of stuff like that happens. I know that they were saying that with Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones in Minnesota, and neither of those guys are back. But go on.
Sometimes it happens, sometimes it
doesn't.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Miguel.
When I brought that up, the whole cap thing, that's not like a dig at you. I am legitimately questioning when we talk about that, and then at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter because they make moves anyway. But also, you're bringing up everyone that the Eagles lost. How is that any different than anyone who wins a fucking Super Bowl? Yes, it does have something to do with the salary cap. I'm not ignorant enough to ignore that. But when you win the Super Bowl, or you have a great, fantastic fucking season, it makes you more desirable. So naturally, other teams are willing to pay for you. Hence, Sam Darnold had an incredible season with Minnesota. So even if Minnesota was like, hey, this is the most we're willing to pay you, another team's willing to pay more.
Yeah.
Same with the Eagles. They just rocked the fucking Super Bowl and won by 30 because of their defense. Naturally, those guys are going to be offered more money outside of the salary thing. We saw that with the Chiefs over and over. Outside of keeping 3 or 4 key players, they lose players and they reload. So I like the whole salary cap thing. I think it's a great topic of conversation, but at the end of the day, I don't think it fucking matters.
Irrelevant.
They get who they want.
I think that there are salary cap manipulations that you can also do. You can stretch contracts. You can restructure.
Yeah.
All of that's the same.
Signing bonuses.
Sure, yeah. A lot of front-loaded money when it comes to that.
All it tells me is if we bought a professional team, us three, because it'll happen probably 2028.
Yeah.
If we bought a
Season
professional
19.
team, Braxton and I could not be focused more on winning and sports. Your back end, your media and back end, you're training these guys how to interview properly, and you're training these guys on how to...
What a great balance, though.
Yes, we need that.
Should we buy a team?
But we're like, hey, dude, we're 48-12 after the All-Star game, and Peter's like, blow the whole thing up.
Well,
blow it up.
And then then I would be the guy who's media relations and be like, why the hell do you do that? I don't know. You're fucking stupid. We're screwed.
I will
don't
say,
know.
though,
I don't get
Is
it.
he bipolar? What the fuck is wrong
We
with
can
him?
discuss this later, but maybe we should find a small league team to buy.
I'm thinking the Blazers.
They are
affordable.
pretty small.
It's a dumpster fire.
They are pretty small. But I mean,
I
like,
could build around Scoot.
because then what we've also seen in the AFC North, for instance, is teams run up price tags within the division. Like, again, you had the Myles Garretts of the world, but it's backing the Bengals into a corner a little bit. Again, the Steelers coming in and they pay not only trade for DK Metcalf, give them like $150 million. So then when you're the Bengals and you're looking at what is the market rate within not just the NFL, but within the division, and you've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both there for the signing, it's motherfucked you even if you're on that or not, because it resets the market. So anyways.
The new
I know you guys don't like this part of the conversation. I find it fascinating.
But the new cap space does give the Bengals a better opportunity to keep both of those players.
When the Bengals win the Super Bowl next season, you're going to be eating your fucking words.
Maybe.
When they have all these guys and win the Super Bowl.
It's interesting when we see also like this year what teams are valuing and who they are planning to pay for. You see the Max Crosbys and the Myles Garretts of the world getting a ton of money. And why? Because now you want to stop the run. Before, in the last couple of years, how do we stop the pass? And so you saw the influx of cash there. Remember how the Chargers refused to pay Austin Eckler the money that he wanted. Now Najee Harris comes in, and I think it's more per year than even Austin Eckler wanted. Again, to your point, you've got the salary cap raising up.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like this year is the year of the pass rusher
and
the year of the wide
running back.
receiver.
Oh, of the wide receiver.
The wide receiver.
Why the wide receiver?
I just there's a lot of older wide receivers that are getting places and homes to go, and I don't think that there's a lot of rookies, a lot of receivers in the draft. So there's a middle ground that
I see.
There's missing a lot.
But I think that like in the past, a guy like Ashton Genty might not find himself as a top 10 pick in this year in an NFL draft, but he's going to get drafted definitely in the first round.
In the draft itself, I agree with you as far as running backs go.
I think that within the league.
Yes.
I think that the shift is going to be more towards stopping the run, and what we've seen these last couple of years with Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley especially has led to running backs getting paid a little bit more than they would have otherwise, and maybe a potential shift in who's getting paid and where people are getting drafted.
I think one of the dumbest moves that's happened in free agency is DK Metcalf going to Pittsburgh.
Why do you say that?
Well, first of all, he completely just clowned on himself because he's like, I want to go somewhere with warm weather and a good quarterback. So he goes to Pittsburgh with an aging Russell Wilson.
He's not even on the roster.
And he might not even be there. And he's going to Pittsburgh. And outside of Hines Ward and Antonio Brown, when you think, like, I understand those two are fucking Hall of Famers. Maybe not Antonio Brown with all his fucking shenanigans, but Hines Ward, Randall L., Santonio Holmes, they've had Hall of Fame receivers. But when you hear like Pittsburgh Steelers, do you hear wide receiver team?
No.
It's quarterback.
You hear defense.
No, you hear defense,
you hear
and
defense
running back.
and running back.
Yeah.
That's always been Pittsburgh's fucking MO.
Yeah.
Is defense and running back. So he goes there with a problem child in George Pickens.
Right, who is kind of same
They're
fish.
very similar.
Yeah, same fish.
They're both problem childs. They don't know who's going to fucking throw to them.
Are you just all just going to be like that deep threat?
They're-
Like, both you guys just run to the end zone.
They're a
every play.
run-first team.
Yeah.
I don't know any other team outside of Buffalo that gets snow like Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot, dude.
I mean, historically, as far as weather, Pittsburgh is warmer than Seattle. Not by a lot, but by a little.
Interesting. All right.
If
I'm not gonna
drier,
fact check that, but-
drier, not warmer, drier.
As far as like average temperatures per month, Pittsburgh is warmer.
I'm not going to fact check you on that. I think
You
you're
should.
wrong. But
You should, because
Okay.
I'm right.
How should I look that up? Average
Temperature per month.
Just type weather Steelers.
That should get it.
Do you not know how to use Google?
If there is one coach in the NFL who can manage and handle the personalities from two receivers like a George Pickens and DK Metcalf, who is it?
How did Mike Tomlin do with Pickens last season?
How did Mike Tomlin do with Antonio Brown?
Not that great, dude. In the beginning, yes, but it like
No,
that
when Mike Tomlin had him, he was the best receiver in the league.
With Ben.
Yeah.
Late years Ben. Don't act like Ben at the end of his career was incredible.
Okay, but if we're thinking about...
I give more credit to Mike Tomlin. Ben just has to throw him the ball. Mike Tomlin has to deal with the personality.
Sure. I think we can agree that we can pair Tomlin and Roethlisberger together. When you think about Steelers' successful seasons with wide receivers, who was the quarterback? It's always been Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
That's Antonio Holmes. Late stages of Randall L. He was a quarterback for, 13 fucking years or something like that?
Long time.
He was such a big part of why the receivers are known from Pittsburgh.
But there's a reason that the Steelers have been in the playoffs every single year since Ben has left.
Right, but I mean, like,
Their
how do
fucking
we
defense.
How do we view the Steelers though from like
You
a
can't win
franchise
games in the
perspective?
playoffs without offense.
What do we know? We know that the Steelers just like get above 500 because that's just like a bullshit stat that Mike Tomlin has always had.
They win the right games.
But like they can't win in the playoffs, and so maybe. And what I heard earlier is like maybe the Steelers' way is not the Steelers' way. That maybe they have like they need to make a bit of a shift in their ideology or whatever when it comes to how they perceive different positions or anything like that. Because
You're probably
what
right.
they've done is good. It's not great. They haven't won, games that matter.
And you're right.
The goal when you make movies is to not lose money. That's the Steelers' way. Just not lose
that's
money.
fact.
It's not about making enough money.
So since 2018, they have had a winning season. They've had a winning season every year since the year 2003. That's crazy. Over 20 years.
And how long has Mike Tomlin been the coach?
The whole time.
Exactly.
But, however, when we look at what they have done since 2017, when they were 13-3, they were first in the division. They were number 1 overall seed. They lost in the divisional round that year. Next year, they didn't even make the playoffs. The year after, didn't make the playoffs. Then lost a wild card, didn't win the playoffs, lost a wild card.
But that, it shows you what's important in the league. Yes, you cannot win playoff games without a good offense. But the defense could take you this far.
Yeah.
And the Steelers are known for great fucking defense. Their defense could take them to making the playoffs every fucking season. But if you can't score, you cannot rely on a game ending 7-7. Not in the pros.
The Steelers are in this weird purgatory because obviously they drafted Kenny Pickett. He was the only quarterback taken in the first round the year that they took him. Again, they set themselves up. They saddled themselves on a guy that may or may not have been the guy. Kicked the can a few years. Here they are trying to piecemeal things with Justin Fields, create a quarterback controversy with Russell Wilson. Possibly Russ comes back. Then you've got possibly Aaron Rodgers. By the time this podcast comes out, we may have an answer to that. At the time right now, there is not. But it's just kind of like you're in this, like, I don't know. Who would you rather be, if you were a Steelers fan, have with those guys? Russ or Aaron Rodgers?
No quarterback.
Yeah.
Wildcat.
Yeah.
Tim
Every time.
Tebow.
I'd rather get fucked.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it seems like they are doing right now. By the way, I know that you are about to go to the bathroom, it seems
I'm
like.
going to pee.
He's going to pee. Let's see. The breakdown, because you think Seattle is colder than, is that right? During football months, Seattle is colder, is what Braxton said. If both of them, so if January is a football month, which I think that we can both assume, for Pittsburgh, 39 as a high, 23 as a low. Pittsburgh, that in Seattle, it's 48-37. So Pittsburgh already colder. February, if they're also playing in February, which they probably wouldn't be, it would be 42-24 for Pittsburgh, 50-37. So again, Pittsburgh is colder. Let's see. I'll not bore you guys here. Seattle is colder in their like summer months. So I guess that maybe situationally he's going to get
practice?
right. So it's like,
That just
Seattle
means-
gets to 70 degrees in the summer.
That just means DK's not used to playing in the postseason.
Right.
That's all it is.
October is identical. November, it's about the same. It's a little bit colder in the low for Pittsburgh.
So if he's
They're
basing,
pretty identical.
if he's basing
is
this decision off of 1 month, but it's fairly identical, it's a clown move on his part.
yeah, when it matters, it's colder in Pittsburgh. But let's see.
You're picking and choosing.
You're George Pickensing and choosing.
What's the average temperature in Seattle in September?
The average temperature in Seattle in September is
You're looking at an Excel spreadsheet.
71 and 54
I don't trust
in
your
September.
data.
All right, it's Google. Bite me.
You just don't have facts, dude. You
He
keep
doesn't.
clowning yourself.
He
No, I'm talking
doesn't.
to you.
He doesn't.
It's twice now you clowned on yourself.
Another team that is dumping a ton of players in addition to what the Eagles are doing with their side of things, and I guess to a degree what the Texans are doing with their offensive line. Laramie Tunsil gets traded away to the Commanders. I want to talk about the Commanders soon. The 49ers, and I believe it was you, Juan Miguel, who basically 2 years called the demise of the 49ers. And now they have either traded, cut, or allowed to walk in free agency a ton of their guys, including
It's not my. It's
you
like,
name it.
It's like the juice is worth the squeeze. It's like I know what's gonna happen. You know, it's a gift.
So, I mean, they were on the precipice, but I think that it's like, and I don't know if you were just conveniently right or if you actually saw something there.
Who doesn't see that? You come up short 3 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's bound to blow up.
Okay, we were talking about the salary cap thing, and I want to stay on the West Coast here. Why is it not working for the Rams and Cooper Kupp at $20 million, but then they signed Devontae Adams for $20 million?
The Rams.
I don't-
I don't
like,
think
what-
it's a money thing.
What
The
is
Rams
it?
isn't a money thing. I don't think they. I think they want to part ways with Cooper Kupp.
Why?
That's for the organization to know.
But he
better
came in
to-
at the exact same time. Like, I mean, this was like the first guy that Sean McVay drafted. Like,
Well,
this
it's-
has been his. And then we're what going to bring in Devontae Adams, who hasn't done shit
It's
in the
better
last
to
2
get
seasons.
rid of him early.
Is that early? Is Cooper Kupp's leaving early at this point? And then to say we're going to bring in Devontae Adams, which feels
But
Same fish.
The value, you're not paying as much for bringing Devontae Adams in.
Are you saying because it's 2 years 40, or because
Yeah, because
Cooper Kupp
what-
would want 5 years 100?
Exactly.
I got it.
I feel like I don't agree with them wanting to part ways with Cooper Kupp, but I could also see the organization looking at it like Cooper Kupp comes back next season and gets hurt. Then the stock in free agency drops even more,
Yeah.
and you get nothing from him.
like-
I'm not saying it's the same player, but this is kind of similar to what the Blazers were in with CJ.
Yeah.
Get what you can out of him while the stock is high.
But, I mean, what the Blazers did was paid CJ $100 million
We're not talking about smart
before,
organization.
Yeah, ever getting rid of him. But I thought that was weird. I'm sure there's more to it. I'm sure that there are much smarter people surprised than me. I just found that so strange considering how much history that they have together to then be nah, we'll go with Devontae at the same amount. But maybe it's a long-term
It ain't
deal
about
versus
loyalty,
short-term.
bro. It's fucking business.
Yeah,
It's
well-
all business.
Let's see. A couple other things I want to talk about. The Cowboys being one of them as well. Did you know that since 2015, the Cowboys have not signed a free agent to more than a $6 million per year deal?
I did not know that.
That they have been so lukewarm or missed in free agency that they have not paid a player over $6 million per year in any of the people that they've acquired in free agency.
Wow.
That's nearly a decade of not trying to go for it with any free agent.
Jerry, baby. Jerry knows what he's doing.
And if you'll recall last year, right around this time, he goes on 105.3 The Fan and just goes, listen, don't try and come after me, I can replace you and get someone to ask me better questions than you. He does not care about whether or not. But now what we're seeing with the Cowboys is
Jerry doesn't know where the fuck he is.
again
I think they're the front runners to get Genty too, and I really hope he doesn't go there because I want to cheer for him.
Yeah.
I really hope he doesn't become a Cowboy.
Did the Cowboys sign like Miles Sanders or something like? I know he got Miles Sanders. I feel like they signed like a not incredible running back recently. Maybe I'm just confusing him still with Zeke or something.
I think they paid Dak $1 billion.
Yeah. So, and again, cap hell. You've got your two guys up at the top in CeeDee Lamb and Dak, and then I guess on the other side of the ball, what's his bucket?
Parsons?
Micah Parsons. Thank you. So, anyways, no splash there for good old Cowboys.
Shout out to the Patriots, though.
Jared Jones.
Mike Vrabel making some fucking
They've
noise.
spent a lot of money.
Spent a lot of money, but you see what they're beefing up. That's O-line and D-line.
Yeah.
It's so on brand for Vrabel
Yeah,
to
get big
beef
boys.
up the O-line and the D-line.
The big uglies.
Riding out with Drake May and Ramondre. And I feel like when you focus on the line, it's usually more good than bad.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah, it has been interesting. Again, this free agency class has been a little bit top heavy, not like crazy names that are kind of out there. It's been a little bit more interesting considering some of like the people who've been cut or traded or anything like that. But yeah, to your point, the Patriots have been making some like good moves that then seem like not splashy, but like, okay, invest in the right machinery, I guess, in a way. The Commanders are making some moves as well. Like they bring in Laramie Tunsil from the Texans. Again, the offensive line last year for the Texans not great, but I have liked what the Commanders have done in getting Tunsil and Debo. Then what the on the other side, the Texans getting Gardner Johnson from the Eagles. Again, trying to bolster back or at least maybe go to a youth movement on
The
their
Bills
offensive
beefing
line.
up the defense with the Bosa.
Yeah.
That's big, too.
Yeah, that's right. Khalil Bosa got. We're talking about the one that got cut from the Chargers, right? Whichever Bosa that is.
Joey?
Yeah. Khalil Mack goes back to the Chargers as well. But yeah, hey, we've got food is coming, I think. Maybe. Yeah, you can just leave it up top. No, you're good. Thank you. So Commanders. Will the Commanders be any better
Yes.
next?
Yeah.
Yes.
However, let me be on the other side of this. The Commanders won a lot of one possession games this last year. And so my argument is that even if you're in the exact same situation, maybe the cards don't fall. This was like same logic with the Vikings a couple of years ago. Remember the Vikings won like 14 games, and I guess they were that this year, but they won all these games by like one possession. Like they're going to regress, and they did. And while I think the Commanders might on paper be a better team, I think that their record is not going to be as good. Maybe they'll catch some fire and go deep, but they were playing with house money in the playoffs this past year.
And you may be right, but I don't think that any of these moves that they've made have been negative.
Also, the main
I'd
thing with
agree.
them is Jaden Daniels isn't a fluke.
No.
That's not a fluke.
Yeah.
He's not going to regress. He's not a fucking fluke. He is the real deal. And I know that there are certain examples of you win by one possession, but like, to me, that's so fucking silly. That is so stupid. A win's a win. And it's almost like you discredit a team by not blowing anybody out. Because strength of schedule also plays a factor in the pros. And you're playing with professional teams that are better than you played in college. Like, look at the Commanders' schedule. Yeah, they won a bunch of one-possession games. They played the Eagles fucking 3 times, dude.
Yeah, they did.
They played the Super Bowl champions 3 times.
They did have to do that.
They played a bunch of really good fucking teams. So it's not like they were just going and playing under 500 teams. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if we're talking about the Commanders specifically, I don't think it's as fluky as some people may think. I think they're taking a very well-established team and adding to it.
You add Debo to Jaden Daniels and Scary Terry and all these guys.
Yeah.
that's a two-way fucking player, not offense and defense, but like
Right.
Debo's like that.
Yeah, jack of all trades.
Yeah,
Is Eckler back? I imagine he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably on the second year of a deal. So
Yeah, but having Austin Eckler as the player you forget about is a pretty good position to be
Right.
in.
That's true.
and improving your O-line to protect your franchise quarterback.
And
I
don't
mean,
they
they're
have the
making
guy
all
that
the
got
right
shot too? Was that Robinson?
yeah.
Brian Robinson? Is
Yeah.
that's possibly true there. So you again have your offensive coordinator there with Cliff Kingsbury, and then Dan Quinn running the ship there. Anything else? We've kind of like done some broad strokes within the NFL. Have I missed anything? I mean, there's
I hope we've hit on at least something of everything.
I think for March, we've done a lot of it.
a couple of news and notes in the NBA. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won 15 straight now for the second time in this season, and then you've got LeBron going from LeBron to LeGroin. Back, he's going to be out possibly for a couple of weeks. I do find me as a tin foil hat guy when it comes to LeBron. He's got the whole a groin injury is hard to prove. You can say it exists, and you have positioned yourself well within the playoffs. Shut yourself down a little bit. We're about 2-3 weeks away, maybe a month, from the end of the season. You come back after a couple of weeks off, and then you ramp back up for the playoffs, and then you're good. That's where my tinfoil hat. And I don't fault the guy.
Are
The
we
guy's
really?
got a lot
Are
of.
we really trashing him for that?
I know. I'm not.
'Cause if
No,
we-
I'm just saying that like I don't buy the injury. I just think that like it's convenient.
He could
time.
come out and be like, "I need a break," and I wouldn't trash him for it.
I wouldn't either.
We're talking about a guy that's if we talk
Just saying
load,
it's convenient timing. You can't prove a groin injury.
if we talk about load management, is he one of the ones we talk about in 22 years in the league at
No.
40 years old? Yeah, dude, get ready for the fucking playoffs, please.
Yeah.
Take a break.
I actually would prefer this over the shit that I see from the Paul Georges and Kawhi Leonards of the world, who just like will take once every 3-4 games off.
Does this
Joel
also
Embiid.
give Luka kind of a pass to take some time off?
Maybe.
I think they need at least one. Luka's young enough; he doesn't need to take a break, and he needs to like get his rhythm with a team.
But I also think that it like gets to a point too where hey, maybe you can focus in this few weeks on Luka within the offense. That you can you're killing two birds with one stone when it comes to that. Get more familiarity, Luka within it, and then give LeBron the much needed break. The guy's played a lot of games, just scored 50,000 points. I recognize the amount of work the guy has done.
Yeah.
It's
God
just
bless him.
I was just saying that like
You got to find something.
yeah, I've got to find something.
And you're a
God, what-
huge LeBron guy.
Big, yeah, especially when he confronts
I mean-
Stephen A. Smith and says, "Hey, don't talk about my son."
Yeah, because you wouldn't do that if somebody talked about your
What
son.
was that?
I had to get that out so I could burp. My goodness. So
What would you talk about in the NBA when LeBron retires? I mean, Jesus, you are out of
I'll
shit.
find something.
You're out of shit.
You know
You're gonna
I'll
pick on
find
his
something.
son, is what you will do.
I will. Yeah, we got
Well,
another.
it's funny
I've got
to-
another 3 years before that guy gets bounced out of the NBA. Right?
It's
Huh?
funny to see Pete kind of transition because now LeBron is viewed probably just as much as a basketball player as he is a father. And what are his fatherly decisions? And now Pete has a little bit of a soft spot for him.
No, he
It's fun
doesn't.
to see.
I don't.
Where are
That's
you
absolute-
getting that from?
He was just defending him, whether
No,
he
it's
liked
not at
to
all.
admit
He's
it
about to
or
pick
not.
on his kid. He's
I
a
was
fucking
about-
hypocrite.
I was thinking that it was really stupid that LeBron goes and says, "Don't talk about my son on your stupid show."
No, before we even got into that.
Oh.
You were defending the fact that LeBron was taking time off, and you got it.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
fine with it.
Okay, sure.
So you're supporting LeBron. There's
Well-
a lot of people out there who are criticizing him for taking that time.
Well, I think that like my judgment at that point is like, who am I judging it against? Is the guys like Kawhi Leonard who do all the load management stuff. I know that like the guy has been on the court Like, LeBron has been on the court.
True.
He's just judging it based on who does he hate more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's no one that exists,
Situational.
LeBron gets it.
Okay.
Situationally.
My apologies. You hate LeBron.
Yeah. No matter what, I will find a way to backdoor my way into LeBron hatred.
Okay.
And I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
I saw a thing, too, that, like, and this will now be the third week that we're talking about the MVP race. SGA, possibly for the first time in maybe close to a decade, a possible unanimous MVP.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
For SGA.
Yeah.
For the fucking league. I mean, if this doesn't tell you that the league plays favorites and they anoint who they want to be MVP, I don't know what will. If you look at the books, I think SGA is minus 340 to win the MVP, and Jokic is like plus 500. Jokic is averaging a triple-double this season, and an insane triple-double, not like a fucking barely making it there and padding stats. SGA is averaging 34 points a game. So you, as the NBA as a whole, what you're telling me as a fan is if someone scores a lot, they get MVP. If someone is playing the system and averaging 10 or more foul shot attempts per game, they're the MVP. Because you refuse to give it to Jokic. Jokic had an interview, and this is how humble and fucking, not out of touch, but like humble and just so simple and not a superstar this guy is. He goes, I think I'm playing the best basketball of my life. But if SGA gets it, he deserves it. He's not fighting it.
So I'm curious, because I'm definitely not in touch with basketball as much as you guys are. How would you differentiate SGA's MVP run right now as far as, like you said, kind of reaching for numbers? Like, how would you differentiate that from Russell Westbrook?
Yeah.
Going for the triple-double. Like, because I know we talked 2 weeks ago, and you were like, oh, you know, he did that all by himself, and there wasn't a lot of support. Do you feel that same way, or
You must be asking Peter because I'm not anti-Russell Westbrook.
no? That's what I'm saying. You said that Russell Westbrook, he did a lot of that by himself. Are you not viewing SGA in that same light?
I don't think that he's doing it by himself.
Yeah, we're talking about your brain. Like, the way that I'm looking at Westbrook and Jokic is like they are affecting the game in so many different ways. We're talking about SGA as just a scoring guy. So I'm not sure.
Sorry, is SGA not going for triple doubles?
That's Jokic.
Jokic
is averaging a triple double this season.
That's my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
No,
I got twisted.
Shay's got is averaging like 32, 33, but he's like 5 and 6 on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that Jokic got the 30-20-20, which was a
which
big
has
deal.
never been done. And
Yeah.
He's just like casting it off as nothing.
Yeah.
And yet, like, here we are.
His post-game interview after that was incredible.
And maybe it's because, like, he's so blasé about it. And maybe it's just kind of, and I don't know if it's blasé because he goes, what else do I have to do? Or if he just, like, truly doesn't care. Again, the Travis Hunter effect. If I can, like, bring this back to college football, like, there's campaigning that has to be done here in order for someone to win an award. Like, if it, like, there's one aspect of it, but then there's what happened with Joel Embiid a couple of years ago. Like,
campaigning the fuck out of it.
Right. Like, I mean, like, he had so many people where from Kendrick Perkins and beyond who were just, like, trying to tarnish what Jokic has been doing. So there's campaigning. I just think that, like, Jokic is like, I'm just going to play. I'm going to go and I'm going to, like, own my horses and you guys can decide whatever. I think that's to his detriment, but I don't know if he gives a shit. So
Ultimately, I don't think Jokic, they view Nikola Jokic as the face of the league. And you don't, like, they
do or they don't?
They don't.
No,
they don't
not
want
at
to
all.
give it to somebody like him. He's like, he's not the face of the league. He's not flashy.
Yeah.
He's not flashy. There's nothing about him that's, like, marketable outside of the nonchalant, I don't give a shit interviews. They want somebody that's flashy. They want somebody that's not, like, Jokic is like a fat dude flailing around, but
Well, and I think that's a good point to bring up because who is the face of the league?
They want it to be Tatum. They want it to be SGA. They want it to be Embiid.
They're not.
These guys. But that's
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. That's who the league wants, and that's who a lot of the fans want.
Yeah, Luka to a degree.
But they're not winning enough.
But it doesn't matter. Almost nothing else matters. They just have to find one thing to make it be you. We just need to tie one thing to make it be you because we want it to be you. Like that's what they're looking for. Is like SGA. The Thunder is number one in the West. He's averaging 34.
Yeah.
Well, when you're responsible for 12 assists per game, minimum, that you're responsible for another 24 points. So if we're really talking technical here, Jokic is averaging 28 points a game plus 24. He is responsible for 52 fucking points a game for that team every fucking game.
Yeah.
That's insane,
Yeah,
dude.
that's a lot of points.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I don't think that
He's being fat
unanimous.
shamed.
Maybe that's
Agreed.
what it is. Or just flat out European racism. Miguel, what do you think about your Blue Dew Devils now atop of the AP coaches, all the top 25s, now that Auburn has dropped 2 games, both to... We had to cut it out last week because of the Texas A&M game. We thought that was a weekend game. That turned out to be the night that we recorded the podcast.
They blew them out.
And then Texas A&M blows Auburn out. Then they lose in overtime to Alabama on a game winner in overtime.
And we are recording. Come next Tuesday will be the very start of March Madness.
Yeah,
It's the first four.
Yeah, the first 4.
But the bracket will be out.
Yes.
The bracket will be there. So
So-
we'll do a lot of bracketology next week.
Yes. So coming into that, is there anything major or crazy that you guys see coming into this selection Sunday?
My question overall is to both of you. I suppose because of Miguel's intricate knowledge of college basketball, is what is going on with Auburn losing 2 games right now. Obviously, like, hey, catch Auburn right now so that maybe you don't catch them later or whatever. But the 2 losses in a week was surprising. And obviously it has led to now Duke number 1, Houston number 2, Auburn number 3, respectively, and Florida number 4 in all your major polls. It was a little bit surprising to see Auburn, who had been number 1 for 7 weeks straight, to drop both those games this week.
I think if you looking at the history of rolling into end of February and rolling into March when you're about to approach conference tournament and selection Sunday and all that, I sometimes when teams lose, or even if you're cheering for a team, you're like, this is the best time to lose. You can regroup
Right,
and
yeah,
all
there's
that.
that age-old
But I
period,
think at Auburn, it's like a 50-50 thing because I by no means do I count them out. I would still be scared of them, terrified of them. That's how good they are.
Right.
And they're probably going to have the player of the year with Broom, but losing these 2 games with A&M and Alabama heading into the SEC tournament, this is more concerning than let's lose and regroup. Not like you wanted to lose on purpose, but the teams that go and dominate March, you have to come in you have to be rolling. And that momentum is not easy to get in the conference tournament going into March Madness. So there is still fear with facing Auburn in March, but those 2 games are big. They're not just regroup games. Losing those completely takes the momentum out of how Auburn's been performing. So I think it kind of damages them a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're still talking about, you have a lot of upperclassmen, but there's still a lot of young guys that it might affect them mentally. Because now it's no longer that we lost, let's bounce back, but now you know how to lose. And now you face that
That's tough.
3 minutes left in the second half, and you're like, we know how it felt against A&M. We know how it felt against Alabama. And that could kind of fuck with you in the head.
Yeah. A big defensive breakdown by Auburn there against Alabama at the end.
For
but,
sure.
That's what's concerning, is that's how they've been winning games. Like, if the same thing with Duke and Houston and Florida, it's all been defense. That's why they're top 4. So if you
that's
see
a big breakdown for them.
if you see the defense break down in a big game, that could fuck with you mentally.
Right, because it's like, oh, is that something that you can fix at this juncture? Or now are you all of a sudden going to be questioning, and, oh, you thought help was going to come, or you were going to switch on those guys, which that's what it seemed like in that.
Is it an accepted fate?
Right.
Outside of shit in your film room and your locker room, you play these games where you lost against A&M by double digits and against Alabama by a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
And then you've shown how teams could play you close. Outside of your own shit within your organization, the blueprint is out there.
Yeah.
That's what's concerning,
because
now teams that could study you even a night before,
they know how to beat you.
They're like, what did Alabama do to stay this close? What did A&M do to blow you out?
And it's not just situational from November. It's like what happened last week.
Exactly.
Yeah. What happened last week, this is how they're playing, this is how, their bodies are feeling, all of those types of things.
Think about 2011 UConn with Kemba.
Yeah.
That team was a 7th seed, but they were rolling.
They were, yeah.
I mean, they did not lose a game from end of January. They did not lose a game from end of January all the way to the Big East tournament and walked all the way through the fucking national championship.
You were talking about, what was the game that you were watching? It's like, you guys watched, it was such a random game that you were asking if we were watching this past
Bradley
weekend.
Drake.
Was okay, and so who ended up winning that game?
Drake.
Okay, so they qualify.
Great game.
Yeah.
Great game. Come on, Brax. Reach back into that memory.
You think about that.
Thurston? I think there was a player on Drake named Thurston.
Okay, sure.
Thurston Merman.
Nope.
I think so.
He makes tomato sandwiches.
But he was rain dancing.
Nice.
Just pull up spot threes with a hand in his eye.
He was Jimmer Fredetting Bradley.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, so I've said many a time on this podcast for several seasons, I'm going to get into college basketball. I'm going to get into NBA. Since I've had a child and I have to sit on my couch for long periods of time, I have access. I don't have cable TV, but I have access to CBS. So anytime there's a game on CBS, I'm watching
You're dialed. Yeah.
And that was the one.
Was Furman Wofford one of those last night?
It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't.
Furman had a good year, 25-9 in the Southern Conference, and they ended up losing to good old Wofford of 15-9 on the year, or 15 and what was their record?
That sounds like
19-15.
That sounds like a third week of September college football matchup right there.
But
Wofford.
Yeah. So good old Wofford, they clinched their way into the tournament. Gonzaga, who was unranked this year, beat St. Mary's tonight. It always seems like those two are going against each other in the WCC.
Yeah.
Gonzaga wins and bounces. I think it's going to put St. Mary's. They'll be in the tournament. St. Mary's as well, just a little bit less of a seed than they thought. Interestingly enough, as well on the other side, so we're going to be seeing conference tournament games this week. That's going to be very exciting. I'm excited to see like the Big East tournament, especially in addition to the ACC, the SEC. But
It'll be fun to see who comes out of the Big Ten. There's a lot of good teams.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Michigan State. I mean, Oregon's decent.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is really good. There's a lot of good teams coming out of that conference.
How do you feel about your Blue Keys?
I think the you can't put too much weight on like finishing the regular season and getting these awards because March is a different animal.
And you guys are pretty much plugged for that number one spot.
Yeah, and again, like I don't think they're going to lose to a 16 seed. By no means am I like that being. I'm not that pessimistic. I think they're good enough to not lose a fucking 16 seed and make history.
Sure.
But
Should we do like a 10-1 bet just to make sure?
No, I don't want. I don't even want to risk it. But like, this is to me the most exciting sporting event because anything can happen. We've seen 2 16 seeds go down in the last win in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And you can finish a regular season losing 3 games, which they have, win ACC Player of the Year with Cooper Flag and all this, but then you head into the fucking tournament and you head into March Madness. It's just, without even being a player in it, you just know as a fan, like, it's fucking different. The air is different.
Yeah.
And we're still talking about not only college freshmen, but a high school fucking senior in Cooper Flag. Like, he's supposed to be a fucking senior.
Yeah.
This dude just turned 18. Like, how is he going to respond? Yeah, he is an all-time great with Duke already, but, like, how is he going to respond when he's facing Houston in the Elite Eight?
Yeah.
Or the second round or something? I'm like, we saw that with Zion. Like, that 2019 team, barely beat Central Florida with fucking, what's the 7'9" dude?
Yeah.
And like barely beat them. I watched that in your basement, and I was losing my fucking mind. Like, you don't lose this game. You're the best Duke team ever. And then losing in the Elite Eight against Michigan State. I'm like, you just never know.
Yeah.
So I will stay nervous. I stayed nervous on national championship fucking years.
Yeah.
I will stay nervous until the buzzers fucking.
Well, how the North Carolina game make you feel this weekend? I mean, they pulled away, but it was into the first half, basically tied. Back and forth until like probably 5, 6,
Closer
7
than
minutes.
you thought.
Yeah, like you were paying attention to that game.
I was
more than you wanted to.
I didn't. I expected Duke to win that game. I did not expect it to be that close. Had they lost that game, I would not have viewed it the same way that Auburn. I'm viewing Auburn now.
Yeah,
I think if they had lost that game after going on a run of winning games by 30, if they had lost that game, I'm like, okay, you can regroup, because it's. You don't want to lose to Carolina, and this is a bad Carolina team, and I almost like viewed it the opposite. But they won, I think, locking down on defense on the second half. The second part of the second half showed what they've been doing on those blowout games, so I really like seeing that. But the biggest reward that came out of that game is that eliminated Carolina from March Madness.
yeah.
That doesn't make up for...
That is a nice caveat.
That doesn't make up for 2022, but Carolina going into that game was like outside looking in, and beating Duke would have gained them a quad 1 second win, a second quad 1 win, and that killed it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to, watch a fifth-year player, because they're never good enough to make it to the NBA,
Yeah.
lose at home against Duke.
Next week we will talk ad nauseum about the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like my Colgate Raiders are going to be in the tournament unless they make a big run in the Patriot League. 14-18 this year, so maybe not a
that's
14
tough.
seed. Yeah, so a couple of things before we get out of here. I'd be remiss to not congratulate Miguel's Oregon State women's basketball team, champions in the WCC for the first time this.
Hell yeah, brother.
They're in the WCC. I didn't even know
Congratulations.
that.
Congrats, Miguel.
But then also, gosh, what the women's UConn women's team did. Obviously, Paige Buchers is just
It's
continues-
Beckers, dude. Get your shit together.
Beckers. Yeah, thank you.
Spearneck, I thought it was.
UConn has now won
Titties.
36 consecutive conference tournament games, and its 5th consecutive Big East tournament title, and 70-50 win over number 22 Creighton on Monday night.
Since we're talking about it, I saw an incredible clip of Paige Buchers. She goes down
It is Beckers. Yeah.
Beckers.
Yeah, it is Beckers.
Beckers.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Ever heard of Silent U?
might be. She goes down the court, drains a 3 in this girl's eye, and is backpedaling and says, "Who the fuck do you think I am?" That's just
She
respect.
should have gone.
Who do you
Respect.
think I am? You are.
Who do you think you are? I am. Yeah. That would be incredible.
He's pretty fucking good.
She's really good.
Yeah. And then the final thing, which is not college basketball related. Bummer for our friend of the pod, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods blew his Achilles today, so
he'll be fine.
He was
Out for
he
the
was in the G
foreseeable.
League playing for the
yeah.
Mad Ants.
So Tiger Woods rehabbing
he'll
all
be
of
all
his
right.
other injuries.
He'll
what?
be all right.
Ruptured his Achilles.
He'll be
We're no
fine.
longer like, as much as it is cool to see Tiger still participate in tournaments.
It's sad now.
It's now Charlie's time, and that
is.
kid is, I think, better than people expected.
Oh, he's gonna be electric.
He is fucking. He's got the personality. I love that he's confident. I love that he's cocky. I know he's gonna get a lot of
And
shit
he's
for
good.
that, and he's got the game to back it up. He is really fucking good.
Yeah. Hopefully
his
he
time.
signs with Liv.
Who's coming back? There's someone who's coming back. Our boy? Which one?
We're a Liv team here, Pete.
Yeah, but
Don't
someone's coming
scoff
back.
so hard.
Philip Mickelson.
I feel like someone's coming back, though.
Bryson's coming back.
Are they? Yeah. Say it.
Are they? It's a he.
I think it's a he him.
He, him. Yeah, we are a he, they, them podcast. That's all I've got. You guys good? I've got
We're
to pee
good.
on myself, so.
Love you guys. Clear eyes.
Forwards!
Can't lose.